welcome to the Taco Cast. I'm Crystal,
I'm Will.
and you're our audience on this lovely Sunday. I hope everybody's having a great day. So, today I thought I would talk a little bit about um, processing negative emotions. I'm going to give you guys a little bit
Negative emotions.
of negative emotions.
All right.
Yeah. I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background. Will and I have had a complete shit week, month.
Yeah,
We're
going on. We're way past a week. We're cruising into a month worth of just pure crap in our lives.
Yeah, 2 months. We've had my brother-in-law has passed away. We just found out yesterday that one of my uncles, has passed away. A really good friend who's basically a brother to me was hospitalized 2 weeks ago. We were told he wasn't going to make it. He's home now, so that's great. That's a huge win. But oddly enough, I'm still really upset by that, and uh, I still think about how we found him when we found him that day. Um, it's still really upsetting. It's still a really strong negative emotion. Um, and I thought perhaps we would kind of talk about ways to process that.
Oh, by the way, I tore my MCL in my knee, and I have to have reconstructive surgery on my knee. So we throw that in there as well.
That's true. Our bad months aren't just things that have happened to people around us.
Yeah.
Will has a major injury that's going to require a surgery and a large amount of recuperation time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's.
And the other night when you were doing your Pokemon battle, you didn't win. So.
That's true.
You know.
It's true. I'm trying to rank up in the Pokemon Go PvP.
I mean, it may sound trivial to a lot of people out there, but that means a lot to Crystal to be able to level up and
that's actually a good point.
Happy wife, happy life.
Mm-hmm.
So I know, as soon as, she was losing her Pokemon battle, it was just time to go to sleep or move to another country.
Bill jokes, but he brings up a really good point. When you're already under a large amount of emotional stress, small stressors can seem huge, and intellectually you're telling yourself this isn't such a big thing. Why am I so upset?
Right.
But we don't really give ourselves the grace to understand that when you're feeling that small upset, when you're feeling that big emotion over that small upset, you're really just kind of feeling everything else that you're dealing with at that same time. So yeah, you stubbed your toe when you were getting out of the car.
It just seems like everything is piling on, which adds to it. And you can get to that point where it's like, you can lose track, in sight of, it's going to get better. Things are going to get better, eventually. But, it's like, when things start piling on, it's just like, it's not just a straw that breaks the camel's back. It just seems like there is no hope. And you have to find a way to get yourself in the right mindset to realize that these circumstances that are happening around you may be completely out of your control, but you have to, keep your eye, like I say, keep your eye on the prize, which is, where you're going, keep the light at the end of the tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
So
I like to joke that avoidance is my coping mechanism of choice. And it is. It's not an effective coping mechanism.
It's not.
Because your problems are still there when you're done. But what a lot of people don't realize...
You're good at it, though.
I am a goddamn master at avoidance for a coping mechanism.
That's why I'm still here.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But it's evolved as a human coping mechanism because it has a function. And part of that function is allowing you to handle life while that stressor is happening. It's not good it's not a long-term coping strategy. Avoidance is not. You want to deal with the stress and the negative emotions. You basically, as cheesy as it sounds, allow yourself to feel them, because the longer you don't, the more it's going to hit you When you're taking the groceries out and you stub your toe, now you're crying in the parking lot. Why? Because you haven't dealt with these other things. But
it's all right to cry. It might even make you feel better.
is that one of Taco's songs?
No.
Oh.
It's from the movie Free to Be You and Me.
Oh.
But for me, when it comes to stressors, I push everything away. That's how I deal with life. And I get to that point where and it's too much. I don't shut down. I just, or avoid everything. I deal with it the best I can in that moment. And then I say, okay, I'm going to compartmentalize everything, in the different compartments, and I take care of each one individually instead of dealing with it, and I could probably deal with them in groups or however the time allows, and my, emotions and mental well-being may be at that time. But I break it down and say, okay, I'm dealing with this, then I'm dealing with this, and I'm dealing with this, even if I could deal with them all as a group.
Yeah. And honestly, you got to do what works for you, which is part of why I'm dressed this way today. Yes.
I was wondering why you're dressed this way today. But I'm happy that you put on clothes for the podcast, though.
I was going to do it naked, but
well, she don't have any pants on.
I have pants on.
Oh no, she don't.
This hat I got from Gish in 2019, and this hat makes me happy. First off, it's a comfy hat to wear, and I like it because it's silly.
It's got a little Gish thing on the thing there.
Got the little Gish tag.
Cool.
The other reason I like to wear it is because it reminds me of a time when I was doing something super fun for community and friendship and art, and it reminds me of a time when I felt really good. So when I'm feeling bad, this hat is one of the things that helps to make me feel better and remind me of the fact that there is always, there's always going to be better days. This is super hard right now, but remember when you did this? This was fun. You liked this.
And it's kind of goofy, and you're kind of a goofy person too.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes along with your personality.
Thanks, man.
And everything else. Fun, not. I don't want you to take goofy the wrong way, but fun, lighthearted. Kind of joyful. That's who you've always been.
Oh, thanks, son.
You're welcome.
This
not me though.
No, he's a grump.
Yeah.
But he's my grump.
I've embraced my inner grumpy old man.
It's not just inner anymore, babe.
No, it's outer. Get off my lawn! Get off my lawn!
But that's why we love you.
Yeah. I worked hard on every one of those blades of grass.
I love you so much. Yeah, this necklace is a scent diffuser. I bought it for my Plague Doctor costume, which makes me happy, that entire costume, so I like remembering the costume. And nobody else in my family likes the smell of patchouli, but I do, so this way they don't have to smell it, and I can.
Well, I like the smell of patchouli. It's just I can't smell it anymore. No, nothing there. All right, but what is an effective way to deal with stress? I mean, because I'm sure everybody out there can think of at least a handful of things that come in the end of a bottle, to deal with stress, or
There is no one size fits all. Sorry, guys. Method for handling stress. A lot of times that depends on the person and the situation, but we can all work with our strengths, right? Like I said, avoidance is my coping mechanism of choice. So using that where it's effective. Okay, what can I afford to put off so that I can concentrate on something else and take care of it? But keeping an eye on that, which is hard. I'm over 40 and I'm still working on it. Learning when
40.
I know, right? Learning when my avoidance is becoming maladaptive, as opposed to being a benefit. When am I putting something off, not so that I can focus on something else that's critical right now, but just putting it off because I don't want to handle it. In my personal opinion, the best thing that we can do to handle stress is to take a moment to ourselves. First off, to allow yourself to feel stressed. If you need to go into a closet and scream and thump your head onto the carpet, not the wall, because that will damage your head and you don't want to do that.
You don't want to damage the wall, especially if you're a renter.
Yeah.
Or a homeowner.
Yeah.
Then you have to replace it.
Like allow yourself.
Scream into a pillow. I do that sometimes.
Yes. Allow yourself
Especially
to
when
feel
my
the
son's
stress.
being a little, poopy head.
Our son, a poopy head?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not.
Well, back to effective ways to dealing with
Yeah.
the stress.
So step one, in my opinion, is to allow yourself to feel it. And then secondly is to take an honest look at what is stressing you out, and that's hard. It's really hard for everyone. So like I get, um, I understand why that's unpleasant because taking a real solid look at stuff that is causing us a large amount of distress amplifies that distress. So it's why it's hard. Another thing that I've noticed, and that I think is really critical for people to understand is that a lot of times when you feel stressed out and you're lashing out at people around you, which happens, I do it. I'm super stressed out and hey hon, can you give me a cup of coffee? And then I just erupt. It's just Mount Vesuvius in the living room.
Not you.
I know, not me, but
You're
yes,
perfect.
me.
You're an angel.
I know.
You're an angel.
But sometimes, the stress doesn't come from the fact that I don't want to help my friends and family around me. The stress comes from the fact that I have, in that instance, I have competing needs, and that's a huge form of stress for a lot of people that they don't allow themselves to acknowledge. I need to take care of my friends and family, and I also need to do this thing over here. And the fact that they're competing is where most of that stress actually comes from. And one thing that I have found and I've been working on recently really hard to do is to acknowledge that stress to myself and then say, okay, so I can't handle both of these at once because they're competing needs. Which one can I handle right now? And if I can't handle the other thing, can I let that person know why? So I'm on the phone with a pharmacy trying to get someone's prescription moved. Something that happened yesterday because they had sent their prescription to the wrong place, right? So I'm on the phone with the pharmacy while somebody else is trying to talk to me about a doctor's visit. Now I've got stress, right? Because I need to handle this, but I also need to handle this. And this seems like a small thing, but I'm using it to illustrate, how this works. So then the best thing, can you hold on a moment? I'll be with you in just a second. Let me finish this. Now they know that I'm doing something important and that they are also important, and then I have to handle this. And apply that as often as you can to other things. And also tell yourself that I am handling this, and then when I am done, I'm going to handle this. And creature comforts, 100%. I'm all about them. What makes you feel good? My coffee cup with the axolotl on it that my nephew got me for Christmas. It reminds me of my nephew, whom I love, and the axolotl is cute as shit.
All that you just pointed out is all well and good. But what would you do if somebody, your advice to somebody, maybe if they were in a toxic relationship or in a, not necessarily abusive, but toxic, at the same time, or both?
Yeah.
How would they deal? What would be the best course of action for them to deal with, stress?
That is a really complicated situation. That's a stressor.
Because what you said, is all fine and good and everything, but it's only, pertains to somebody who's not in a where they have that constant toxic, environment around them.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm going to touch on something else really quick before I get to that.
Okay.
Because you've brought up, something that I think a lot of people don't understand. Humans only have one stress response. Our physiological response to stress is exactly the same regardless of the source of the stress. If it's psychological, if it's physical, if it's environmental, our response to stress, our physiological response, how our bodies handle it, is exactly the same. And we can touch on that more later on in a different segment if people are interested in that. It's actually pretty interesting. But that stress response, that physiological response, can affect you your whole body. It can affect your immune system. It can affect your cognition. It can affect your so basically that stress response. If it's happening constantly, because remember, it's not just psychological. It is a physical thing that your bodies do. It's going to affect you physically as well as emotionally. For somebody who is in a toxic relationship, it's not just psychological, precluded that it's not, like a physically abusive relationship. Right. Usually when people discuss toxic relationships, it's the psychological abuse, right? But it's not just psychological. It's going to be taking a physical toll on you also. It's going to be lowering your immune system. It's going to be disrupting the way that you think and your ability to logically follow anything. It's going to be affecting your basically your whole body. It's going to be disrupting your sleep cycle. It's going to be disrupting your gastrointestinal health. Constant stress is bad for you. And your body doesn't know any different. Your body's just like, hey, you're upset about something.
Well, your mind, body, and mind, yeah.
Yeah, everything's connected. So when you're feeling this stress from a toxic relationship, your body's like, did you want some more adrenaline? How about some more adrenaline? Did you want some more of that? How about some of these hormones? How about some of these hormones? And your body is prepping for something, right? But something that never happened. And those hormones are affecting you. However, when you're in that kind of relationship, it's not always advisable, and I know this sounds weird, for somebody to leave right away. Especially when people have intermingled finances and stuff like that. Somebody can't always make a clean break. So telling people just go isn't really solving the problem. You've got, especially...
You can't run from your problems either.
Yeah. Well, and...
Because your problem, if you have problems, emotionally, financially, physically, whatever, if you leave, your problems are going to follow you.
Yes, and especially when you're talking about relationships, like toxic and abusive relationships, especially in today's world, just leaving can leave people financially destitute. It can impact their career. It can basically impact their ability to survive. So for people who are in a toxic relationship, I definitely recommend not making, unless you are imminently in physical danger, then leave. Sort out those. Absolutely. If you are in imminent physical danger, leave right away, and you can sort that other stuff out. Because if you die, that shit ain't getting sorted anyways. So again, prioritize. But it's best to make a plan. And be vigilant and get someone to help. There's resources, there's local, state, federal resources for people who are in abusive relationships. And this is not just for women. Oftentimes when people are talking about toxic relationships, they talk about women being abused by their partners. Men are also victims of psychological and physical abuse. And oftentimes their recovery and their ability to leave is hindered because of a bias our society has, thinking that men can't be abused. So in a lot of cases, it's going to be even harder.
There's 700 shelters in America for men who are being physically abused. They'll take men in. Only 700. Do you want to know how many women shelters there are? There's 13,000. Most shelters will not take in abused men. And rightfully so. You don't necessarily want to mix the two groups together.
Yeah,
the last thing someone who's escaping a physical violence from a woman, the last thing she's going to want to do is bunk next to a guy who's there as well, just regardless what his issues are.
Yeah.
So.
But it does present additional problems, and it makes it harder for men to leave abusive relationships.
Yeah. So, okay. Now what?
Well, honestly, everything that I've discussed here today is just things how to get you through in the immediate. Ultimately, I think everybody should go to therapy. absolutely. Every single person, even if you're not feeling anything going on with you right now, just make an appointment, talk to somebody. Um, because I think it's really important that we get an outside perspective to help us center ourselves. But once you've gotten through the hard times, definitely reach out to a mental health professional. Um, Lots of times for people who are financially strapped, there are free or low sliding cost options available.
I'll give you a free one. I know a free one. Something that a friend of ours who was going through taking psychology classes. Something that they didn't even know that they were giving me the advice, because it wasn't, I wasn't asking for the advice, but told me something that they learned in class. A way to deal with stress and to deal with the depression and stuff like that that people may be dealing with within a relationship is get yourself an envelope, write that person a letter, and talk about the how you feel in the relationship. Keep it about I, not you, but I feel that this is what is wrong. Write that letter, put it in the envelope, and then throw it in the fucking trash.
Ooh.
Don't ever mail it to them, but just write it out. It's like, okay, I write the letter about how I feel in the relationship with her. I write the letter out, fold it up, put it in the envelope, address it, and then take that letter and throw it in the trash. Burn it, do something, tear it up, but make sure in case somebody finds it, they can't just mail it back. Put a postage stamp on there and mail it to them. But it helps you relieve and get that stress and those emotions out onto paper, and it actually, it's a good point. And it's free of charge. Mm-hmm. As long as you have a piece of paper and an envelope.
Yeah.
Go on.
Oh, sorry. That was really good advice. Yeah, I seek outside counseling. Absolutely. It's super beneficial. Now I will say, look into the group that you're going to get assistance from, even just a cursory examination. Make sure it's somebody who's licensed. Unlicensed counselors are great for emergency situations, but when you're talking long-term mental health maintenance, you want somebody who's certified and licensed.
Yeah. And just, isn't it every state, is it all 50, some state, all of the United States, that you can check on the licensing?
Yes.
An individual?
A lot of people don't know this, but medical care licensure.
I think there is like 2 states, though, you can't check online. You'd have to actually call them or contact them in other ways, like go to them physically.
I'm not sure now. Because
they're all online now?
I think they're all online. And this actually goes for all providers, even your phlebotomist when you go to the laboratory to have your blood drawn. Healthcare providers, their licensure is publicly searchable. In all 50 states, you can verify whether or not somebody is licensed to provide the service that they're providing, and the scope of their license, whether or not there have been any complaints, whether or not there have been any reprimands. You can find out all of that information. And super quick, too.
I thought it was like New Hampshire and like Maine were the only 2 states where you couldn't actually search online, but they're all online now. That's great.
I believe that they're all online now. I'm not 100%. But I know Washington State is, and Texas, and Hawaii, and.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised, but that all of the United States is online now, where you can search that. It's just like I keep on telling people that when they ask me questions about on my other channel about criminal backgrounds for people, and people get suckered into these services where they tell you to pay and they'll show you the actual records. I feel so sorry for people who do that, because you can do the same thing for free as long as you know where they are. If you want to look up the criminal record for John Smith in Albuquerque, New Mexico, go on to the county website. Most county websites have you can just type their name in and it'll tell you if they've ever had an arrest record. And most states are they're all on one system now. So if you pull up John Smith in Albuquerque, New Mexico, it'll tell you his entire criminal record for anywhere in the United States. Now it will not give you international records, I mean, but it will give you in the United States. So key point there, if you're thinking about going on that Tinder date tonight, and you want to look up the person you're meeting to hook up with, you can look them up, by as long as you know where they're from or where they live. Now, of course, a lot of people on Tinder use false names. I highly suggest you don't use Tinder, but hey, to each their own, right?
Hey, yep.
We're not here to judge you. Well, we are, but we're not actually really judging you. All right, is there anything else you want to add to this about how to deal with stress? Obviously, I know I caused you a lot of stress. So much stress. But how have you been able to cope it all these years besides at the end of a bottle?
I actually don't drink that much.
You should.
Why?
Because I could take advantage of you that way.
I like my liver.
But I could take advantage of you then.
Not really.
We have to tell everybody we're just messing around. We are joking.
Let's let everybody go to enjoy the rest of their Sunday. I hope everybody has a great Sunday. Bye. You just stop with the eyeballs? What are you doing? Stop with the crazy eyes. Stop with the crazy eyes. Put on your professional face.
All right.
Professional face, daddy.
Professional face, daddy.
Professional face, daddy.
Professional face, daddy.
I don't think that's it. I don't think that's your professional face.
Night face, daddy.
Night face. No good night face.
No good night.
No good night.
No good night.
No good night face.
No good night face.
No good night face.
No good morning face either. He doesn't want to go to bed. He doesn't want to wake up. All he wants to do is, eat pizza and play on his tablet.
He's such a little stink. And this morning when I go to wake him up, I go, "Can I see your good morning face?" He looks right at me, goes, "No good morning face." Takes the blanket, pulls it over his head, and rolls over.
He is so much like you. It is unbelievable, and he's only 5. Okay, let's do our intro.
Do the intro. Alrighty, ready?